Good morning, Inspiring Illuminators. It is me, Jennifer Engel, CEO and founder of Inspire and Illuminate, which is me basically just doing my morning meditation posts on social media, doing these jaunts with Jen, and then getting highest possibility states pushed out to the public in June. Then hopefully doing some workshops maybe in July. But for those of you who don't know me, one of the things that I think is very important is to create daily habits, especially in the morning, because some days are easier than others. And I have found that on the tough days, having daily habits can help get you out of bed. Like if you can just get through your first 3 to 4 to 5 habits that you have, then you'll find as you get going, even on the tough days, it can be a little bit easier, a little bit lighter. And that's one way that we can move from a lower possibility state to a higher possibility state. So my daily habits is to wake up. Again, they don't even need to be like, ooh, ah. I scoop the cat litter. I check my email. I make the coffee. I go for my daily walk. And I'll tell you, by the time I'm done with my walk, I feel better. Some days I wake up just peppy and fine. Other days I don't. But no matter what, if I do those habits, I always feel, if I woke up happy in the same state, if I woke up a little unhappy, in a higher state by the time I'm done. And that kind of leads me to the conversation that I want to have today. Because on my walk, not only do I do my jaunts with Jen, but many mornings what I will do is I will listen to a spiritual podcast, if you will. And we all have our favorite podcasts or YouTubes or whatever that we like to listen and watch. But what I'm also going to challenge you with is to listen and watch with a discerning mind. This is what I do. And I kind of picture it like a sieve or like a screen door that you open the window to new ideas, possibilities. You let in the ones that resonate with you or that you're like, oh yeah, I think that's true. You'll just feel it and know it. That's why we call it a resonation. It's kind of like on a guitar string, if you pluck it, then a string next to it will vibrate a little. Or if you pound on a table, the water or liquid in the glass will vibrate. If it vibrates and you have a good feeling, keep it. If it vibrates and you have a bad feeling, ignore it. Shut the window. Say, nah, thanks. That was an interesting thought, but that's not for me. And one of the other keys that I learned actually many years ago, I want to say, I don't even remember. It was so long ago. And this is the other thing for me. Time in the past becomes, the way that I describe it is my now moments are pretty solid. But then if I picture them like a really nicely done watercolor painting, and then like my past memories for myself are more like a cup of water spilled onto the painting and it kind of all runs together. So that's how I experience time. And one of the things that I realized about time or learned is that the only things we really carry forward with us through time and space, material things will come and go, They'll look brand new, they'll get old, but our feelings and our memories. So the stronger the feeling, the stronger and clearer the memory is as we carry it throughout time and space. And I believe that this even works for reincarnation, past lives and future lives. But that's a different topic for a different day. So, what I want to talk about is the Matrix. And I apologize for my sound quality. My S's are going to sound a little bit like snakes. I did order new earbuds and microphones, so hopefully my next sound qualities will be better. So, many years ago, and like I was saying, I don't remember how many, I heard, I think they're called imams, so imams, sorry if I'm totally butchering that, but the leaders of the Islamic Church. One thing I was doing is I was trying to compare and contrast what pastors were saying in church with what like the imams were saying in the mosques to see if it was really different or not. And at least the ones I was listening to were not that different. And I really pulled a key from one of the Islamic teachings that I listened to. It said, be the gatekeeper of your own mind. And for those of you who don't know me, I believe we create a majority of our reality. I believe a majority of our reality is created upon our thoughts, but mostly created about the strong or weak feelings, beliefs, and judgments we have about those thoughts. So, to be the gatekeeper of my own mind is exceedingly important. And when I turn on a spiritual podcast or whatever, and it's cool if you do that with me too, you know, if something I'm saying is like, oh, that's just crazy stuff, shut the door on me. It's all good. I don't really have that many listeners anyway. Again, I just share it because even if it reaches one person and it resonates with them and makes them feel less alone or allows them to raise their consciousness a little bit, that's all I really care about. But anyway, I was listening to one of my spiritual podcasts this morning within the new age community. There's this concept about, we're shifting from third dimension to fourth dimension, from old earth to new earth, and we need to escape the Matrix. That came out a lot when the actual movie The Matrix came out. And so I just wanted to give my 2 cents, for whatever it's worth, about what my understanding of the Matrix is. So, this is difficult because the other thing that I see is there's the physical world and the non-physical world. And then there's probably every, I don't really know how to explain that. There's every experience in between. So there's super physical, like rock. There's physical, like we experience it. And then, like you go back to science class, there's solid, liquid, gas. It gets less and less physical. And then we have like daydreams and night dreams, which are even less physical. Then you have almost what I call vibrational, where you might just have sound or color. So that's how I see it. There's the physical and the non-physical world, and there's every experience in between. And to me, that's what the Matrix is. And what's interesting is in my book, Highest Possibility States, I too describe a matrix. And I describe it a little bit more visually solidly of how I envision it. I'm trying to think, like I have old school ways of describing this, and I'm trying to find new school ways of describing this. So an old school way of describing this is a matrix. I can't remember what he's called. He's a Russian writer. He wrote, I can't remember what it was called, but he talks about pendulums. To me, a matrix is just a consciousness. Okay, it's a set of beliefs. That's it. That's all a matrix is. And within that set of beliefs, you might find certain rules people have to follow, or if you believe or vibrate this way, then you are a part of this consciousness, and if you don't, you are not. And so the way that I like to see it, an old school way to describe it, is like an overhead, a clear piece of transparent plastic paper we used to put down. And on this clear plastic piece of paper, we write down the rules or the images or whatever that goes with that consciousness. And we can have an infinite number. We stack them up on the overhead. We shine a light to it, through it, and it looks like they're all on the same screen. But if you go back to the source and you pick them up, you realize they are their own separate thing. Another way that I like to imagine this is if you have a piece of glass, and on the glass you write all the rules or the images or the whatever that go with that consciousness, and then you will line up all the pieces of glass in a row, maybe like dominoes. Then you would shine a light through it, and on a wall it would look like they are all there at the same time. And so this is also the juxtaposition. Two seemingly opposite things are all happening all at the same time. This is unity, where we are all playing together on a canvas called Earth, on a wall, but at the same time we are all individual, hopping from different consciousnesses and experiences. We're compartmentalizing everything all at the same time. Okay? Now, if you picture these glasses that are vertical and you tip them over, and now they're like horizontal, so that they create almost like, if you think about it now, more like a skyscraper in the city. Now we have different floors of consciousness. There are higher floors and there are lower floors. And so basically anything that's negative is a lower state of consciousness, and you know you are there because you feel anger, you feel guilt, you feel insecurity, you feel jealousy, you feel whatever, you've been lied to, you feel like there's conspiracy theories, like all this stuff. Now, you know you are on higher floors of consciousness if you're experiencing courage, acceptance, self-confidence, love, compassion, truth, clear perception. And so, a lot of times, I also understand that there are innies and outies, what I like to call them. The outies are the people who like to experience or choose to experience physical reality more than non-physical reality. And more often than not, and we can be a mixture of both, by the way, but I'm just trying to simplify this as easy as I can. The outies will have an experience. It'll go into their mind. Their mind will judge the experience, or their heart will actually, as good, bad, whatever, and then it will go into their subconscious. And there it is stored. And anytime they have an experience that is similar, they experience it very similar again, until one day they change how they think about that situation. They change it not necessarily in their mind, but in their heart. They have a change of heart about it. That's when they're going to start experiencing something different. The innies will have something in their imagination. It will be pulled up through their heart to their heart. They'll have a feeling. That feeling will be projected into their mind. Their mind might create an action plan, and then they have more of an impact on the physical world than the physical world has an impact upon them. And again, we are probably all a certain combination of innies and outies is what I like to call us. But some choose to be more focused on the physical world, and some choose to be more focused on the non-physical world. And just like the Matrix, there is every experience in between. And some people stay longer in the physical world. Some people stay longer in the mental world, analyzing everything. Some people stay, well, I shouldn't say world, I should say state. Some people stay in the physical state longer, exercising their body and focusing on physical things. Some people stay in the mental state or stage longer, analyzing every possibility. Some people stay in their heart or in their emotions longer because that's just where they like to be, talking and feeling and connecting with others. And some people, a lot of times, will stay in their non-physical, their vibrational, their subconscious, their spiritual state. They're the daydreamers. They're the ones who, because to me, that's my understanding, that's where you're closest to Source and God. And so those people will become more socially isolated. They'll spend more time alone so that they can move closer to God and Spirit, Source, whatever you want to call it, and start asking the big questions. So, it is my understanding that the Matrix, you choose through your thoughts and your feelings what floor you're going to be on within the whole system. And that's what I'm hoping highest possibility states will do, is get people to see, because that's what I want to be. I want to be like a subconscious coach. That your subconscious is even more important, I believe, than your physical world. I believe your physical world reflects your subconscious most of the time. Okay? There are some exceptions, but that's another talk for a later date. And so, it is, and they are, science is starting to kind of prove this, that, I don't know how they choose the percentages. 90 to 98% of our behavior and actions is actually derived from our subconscious. It's like our subconscious is the wind in our sails. Our subconscious is the gas in the car. Okay? So it's really important we look at the quality of what we're putting in there. And so what I want to do is get people to slowly open up their subconscious and start looking in there. And then in my book, I give people a questionnaire to kind of help figure out, where are you on the matrix? And then I kind of equate the matrix to stairs. How do you, if you're here, go up here or whatever? Okay? Now in general, you don't need a big questionnaire to realize what floor you're on. All you have to do is feel. If you're feeling good, you're on a higher floor. If you're not feeling so good, you're on a lower floor. It's pretty much that simple. And then what you want to do is you want to say, okay, if you're in a lower state, this is where I am now. And this is also what I hope to teach people over time. How do you get quiet and develop good voices in your mind that can help guide you toward what can help you best? Okay? So, in general, you kind of stop, you feel. And also, another thing that also determines not just your thoughts and feelings about where you are in the matrix, this is a concept I've really learned, over the past, 5 or 6 years. Everything is a consciousness. Everything. The food you eat, the liquids you drink, the substances you take into your body are all consciousnesses. Like, you are not one individual conscious. You are a big conscious. You probably put the most stuff in there. But there are other consciousnesses that can shape and affect your own. Not all consciousnesses have to be human. And just like humans and animals and plants and everything, they want to survive. And especially non-physical consciousnesses need physical consciousnesses to survive. So plants, for example, are a huge one. One consciousness that's more positive, like the holy basil. It got worshipped by a whole, country, India. Marijuana is a whole consciousness that just got itself legalized. They're very powerful consciousnesses. Alcohol, back in the 20s, 30s, whatever, prohibition, got itself legalized. It's a consciousness. But it needs a physical body in order to survive. So, not only do you have to think about what are you putting mentally into your mind, but what are you putting physically into your body as well. Now, some things might seem, or society has told us, oh, those are negative, you shouldn't put them in your body. Let's start with junk food. Well, or even vegetarianism, or whatever. Some are supposed to be, the best for you. The truth is, it's a good consciousness for you if when you put it into your body, when you interact with it, number one, it feels good, not just in the moment, but over time. Number two, it makes you more functional, not just in that moment, but over time. I used to get confused about this because sometimes I'd eat these great salads, right? And I would feel so crappy But then I'd eat like Doritos with fake cheese dip and I'd feel great. But the outside world told me that the salad was supposed to make me feel great and the Doritos and the cheese dip were supposed to make me feel like shit. But I didn't find that to be true. Now, I will say, if I kept eating only Doritos and cheese dip, I probably wouldn't feel well. And so I do need a combination of all foods. And I also found, this is a deeper level, maybe a more crazy level, I don't know, that I remember a lot of different consciousnesses inside of me from past lives. And there are a wide variety in there. And what I'm finding is I also need to eat and interact with a large variety of physical consciousnesses to kind of like please and make my inner consciousnesses happy. And when most of the we's in me are happy, then the whole being of me is happy. So for example, the way I see myself and my own pattern is I have like this really big, close to spirit consciousness that is more pure, probably doesn't really even like to eat or have food. So I skip breakfast. And then as I go throughout my day, I funnel into my physical three-dimensional self. Now, that's hard to describe. I mean, I'm always my third-dimensional self. I always see reality like most people do. But I almost like see it like my consciousness is split, like a tree. So it's like I'm always in the trunk of my tree. But then, as you clear your chakras, if you will, you break through what they call your crown chakra. And now I can access my higher self. I can access past memories. I can access all these different things. And so the trunk of the tree is me. But there's all these branches in my consciousness. Those are the different we's in me. And each one of those branches wants to experience a different thing in this physical world. You know, a lot of times people say, oh, the physical world, that's the low world. That's the, I don't remember what they call it. Basically like the gross body. You're like this gross being in the physical world. Well, I think it's more like Soul, that movie that just came out. Our consciousnesses, this is a gift. Because one thing I've learned is it's one thing to be loved and be connected by people. And you can always carry that with you in your heart and in your consciousness for infinity. But there's nothing that replaces the physical act of seeing that person in person, giving them a hug, touching them. There is nothing that replaces feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin or the wind dancing and playing with your hair. There's nothing like actually physically hearing a child laugh or to taste your favorite food or drink in your mouth. You can imagine that all you want, but nothing actually replaces that physical experience. And so it's almost like all these consciousnesses that you carry within you honor you because they are being able to live through you and experience what you're experiencing. So we have a choice. And for me, it starts with daily habits. Find 1 to 5 daily habits. Find 3 to 5 daily habits. Positive daily habits. And continue them. Like forever. because they will get you through the hard days. No amount of like sitting and meditating and thinking happy thoughts will get you through those hard days. When you are in those hard days, I don't know, the only thing that got me out was my habits. Because I can move forward and be angry with my habits. But I did them. And then when I started to move and flow, that's the only thing that got me out. Not meditation, not looking into my subconscious and clearing things out. We only do that when we're in a good place. We don't do that work when we're in a bad place. When we're in a bad place, we focus on the physical world and we do our physical habits. And then be the gatekeeper of your mind. Like I started out saying, I was listening to like this spiritual podcast. Love listening to this person. But occasionally, and all he does is read books from other people. But as soon as I start feeling like, ooh, this is a darker consciousness, it's a lower consciousness. Anytime I start hearing about conspiracy theories and blah, 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 I shut the door. I say, no thanks. I don't want that stuff coming in my world. Okay? So we choose what part of the matrix we want to participate in and what floor or level we want to participate in it through our thoughts and our feelings. So have your daily habits. Be the gatekeeper of your own mind. Anything that doesn't feel good, shut the door. Ask yourself these questions or come up with your own to guide you. How does this make me feel right now? Is it making me more or less functional? Not just in this moment, but over time. A third one, which is a bonus, but not necessary. When I do this or participate in this, how does it make the people around me feel and function? It's like a bonus question. So I've been hearing a lot of the spiritual teachers, new age teachers, talk about how we're moving from this old matrix into a higher one. And I'm starting to think to myself, haven't we always? Isn't that part of the purpose of life? To evolve and grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? And didn't we always have that ability? I do think the difference is, it was more individual or slow. And I do think we are moving into understanding a little bit more about how the consciousness of one person or one thing affects the whole. Because while we are one tree ourselves, we are a tree in a forest. There are all kinds of trees and consciousnesses around us that our roots are connected to. And if one of us goes lower, if one of us gets sick, then we all have the potential to become sick and lower. But one thing cool that trees do, and I know people do, is that when a person gets sick, the consciousness rallies around that person to lift them back up and to try to heal them as much as possible. So that's the matrix. The matrix is simply consciousness. And there's probably an infinite number of consciousnesses, ranging from very solid and physical to non-physical, and going up or down in an elevator, and we get to choose. We're not stuck. We are not flies in a web. That is a lower consciousness. If you believe that, then that is I believe what's going to happen. You will get stuck. But even if you have a small fraction of an idea that I am not a fly stuck in a web, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself unstuck. That's my belief. So that was my very long talk about my view of what the Matrix is. I hope that it has helped someone today, or opened up the mind of someone today, so you can use your own thoughts and feelings. First, to get yourself unstuck, to get yourself moving up, and then to help others. Because now more than ever, the world needs that, and it needs you. Peace and blessings.